in their reaching and their depth. I mean, and the way that they did it. Nichelle has pushed me in a way that I probably would not have responded to anybody else. No one could have gotten me to do some of the things that I've done if it had not come from her voice.
Wait a minute, hold on.
Right.
This right here would not have happened.
Because yes, Nichelle was the first person who got me to actually write a devotional that I shared with anybody outside of a church context. I've written all kind of things, but never shared it widely. And she was like, "Oh no, you're going to write this." And so I wrote the Vashti's Note and talked about the cost of Vashti's No, because I feel like I am Vashti in so many ways, because I will tell you no so quick, but I am also willing to suffer the consequences of that no. Because if that means that another woman comes up because I have to go down, then that it is what it is.
Wow. And I would just like to add, Reverend Dr. Guidry Nichelle was a major influence. The time we spent in Princeton, she was our resident pastor. Influenced me to do this whole "Can I Get a Word" ministries. This podcast. I reached out to you when you was doing your podcast and told you. So just phenomenal woman of God.
And I was blessed that I went to Princeton on the heels of having gone to the Jarena Lee Preaching Academy, which falls under Dr. Valerie Bridgman. Okay. And I got to have, Dr. Leslie Callahan and Dr. Will Gaffney being able to tell me what they helped introduce me to was giving a woman's voice. Because I spent a lot of time wondering, where was this person? Where is this? And I remember when we had to preach a sermon, I was looking at the 10 virgins. And I felt like what about the one that got left behind? What about the one who her sins weren't visible? Wow. And because that's what we had. So being able to give the voice. Yes. And that ended up going into our Lenten devotional, which is dismantling white supremacy. Wow. But even in that, where's the voice? Because we now have to have a voice so we can cry out and stop being oppressed. Right. Because we're holding all this stuff in and we don't want anyone to know exactly what we're feeling. And it's continuing to eat at us.
Can I introduce that? Or you want
I was going to say, on this podcast, we love to celebrate the works of that people are doing. And we definitely are going to spend some time talking about this Lenten devotional.
Mm-hmm. Okay. It is called Recipiscence. And I won a little battle to be able to name it that. I'm one of the editors with Nicola Torbett. It's Recipiscence, a Lenten devotional for dismantling white supremacy. Wow. And I worked with this amazing faith organizer out of Oakland, California. And we started talking about this, and it was her brainchild. She wanted us to write it together. And I said, this is amazingly dope, but I basically know everybody. So let's just go.
You do. Because since we've been here, I'm like, okay, can I say what's up? Hey, how you doing? Nah, but that's a good thing.
And so but these happen through these channels and through these networks that have been made by these people doing this amazing work. So I reached out to all my BTLI people, all my all my different organizing, all the things, Michael McBride, who I worked with before, and I was like, yo, let's all put in and give our perspective. But what I love about it, seriously, is what you touched on. It's really vulnerable. Yeah. People really poured themselves out into this, not just to say, let's dismantle this thing, but I'm coming from my brown place, from my black place, from my queer place, whatever their place was, to say this is how, and even from some white places, this is how white supremacy has been made manifest in my life and why it has to be dismantled. Wow. This is what happened in a lot of the submissions. So it has been a blessing to curate and then to edit and put together and piece together, and it is amazing. You can download an ebook on transformnetwork.org. You just go to their resource page, and in the bookstore, you just click those two things. You can download the ebook, or you can have one shipped to you. The ebook is $10, and the printed devotional is $15. Oh, and I got to celebrate because it just happened today. So there's a teacher at McCormick, theological, who just ordered 12 copies and said that she is going to make this required reading in her class, and that it was just such rich place of resource.
Wow.
It's been an amazing blessing.
And I can honestly say, when you sent me the link and everything and seeing it up close and personal and flipping through it, I was just like, wow. This is major. This is really major.
And it's major when, as being one of the contributors, when it's like, okay, now pick, you have to go, and we were given our parameters, and it's like, okay, Lord, now what scripture? And it's like, but I'm not doing this the standard ways we've always done this.
Devotional.
And I can still remember, for me personally, when I'm like, I've done my studying, I've done my diligence on my studying, and I think my professors would be proud of me that I studied. But I still don't have a clue what in the world I'm supposed to do because this is the sermon. And that's when it was like, no, but I have something else. And that's how this is written, in that it's a different way we're doing it, but it's focusing on an issue that we're all having to struggle with right now.
And I highlight the artist. This is actually an original painting. The artist is Heather Tolbert, and she's based out of Asheville, North Carolina. And I've never met her before, ironically, even though I lived there for 3 years. And her website and all of her information is from the ashes, and it's all a phoenix imagery. And her testimony is also in here as well. And you want to talk about a woman, even reaching out to her and talking to her, she was like, hesitant she loved being a part of the picture, but I was like, but I also want your voice.
Wow.
I also want your voice. I want you to tell us what inspired you to draw this brown Jesus with like straight locks. This is the cross.
Okay, locks.
Listen, this is we like that guy. For those not watching, both my counterparts have locks.
We have locks.
And so we have a brown Jesus with like complete locks, with the crown of thorns, and the cross is in the colors of red and black and green, which, as we know, are the colors of the motherland, Africa. So it is, and the head is hung down, and who bowed down this head, and thinking about the violence that was enacted upon Jesus, and the violence that is still being enacted upon black and brown bodies every day. Did a talk earlier today, talked about how basically black and brown people are in a perpetual Lenten season.
Ooh.
We are constantly on the road to Calvary, and we are constantly being murdered by the state, and we are constantly being scapegoated as the threat to the establishment.
Preach, sister.
Here we go.
You ladies are breaking barriers. You're literally changing the game. You're changing the game because, like you said, you was thinking like, oh, I don't have a sermon, but this is a book full of sermon, preaching, it's devotion. It's a window into the souls of those voices who have contributed to this project.
There's some amazing voices in here. Right. It is some amazing, and some of the vulnerabilities, seriously. It is such a sacrificial offering. And
if I didn't know any better, I would have thought y'all had known each other for like lifetime. So you see how God moves and works. They met at
July
leadership
2016.
But do you see how God ordains relationships and puts people together?
Y'all don't even know the half. We'll be able to tell that next July. We'll talk about that next July. We can't share everything.
I'm gonna have to get on their calendar. I don't know. I'm gonna have to reach out early by then. I guess a question I want to ask is, I lost my train of thought.
So sorry. Before I forget, the only thing I didn't put is there is also a weekly podcast of the contributors. So if you want to get to know these voices more, because this is not just about me, about us, about any of these things, but to get to know, highlight, amplify all of these voices. Each week, the podcast will be on The Word is Resistance. It's going to be both on SoundCloud and our Bible app. And it's going to be amazingly wonderful. And we also just recorded, also at Proctor, a live piece with Michael McBride, and he's going to post that podcast as well with some of the contributors.
And if you're out there listening, seriously, get this Lenten devotional book, listen to the podcast, connect with both Regina and Vahisha, because these are two ladies, that are available, that are accessible, that have a heart for people, for other women, for ministry, for service. So how can people connect with you guys?
Okay.
So the easiest way to connect with me is my email, which is Regina D, as in Danette, Simpson @gmail.com. I am Regina D. Simpson on Facebook, and I'm Blessed and Fit, BLSD in Fit, on Instagram and Twitter.
And if you would like to also look at opportunities for Regina to come to your community, wherever that may be, you can also go to transformnetwork.org and look at the Speakers Bureau, and all of her talk titles and descriptions are available there. But if there's something in particular that you've heard her say that is not even listed that you would want to bring into that space, she can be made available that way. I am also available on there. I'm on the same Speakers Bureau, transformnetwork.org. I am Vahisha Hasan on Facebook. It's only one. So
right, we're not gonna find 10 Vahisha.
No, if you just type in VAHISHA, trust, the rest will come up. I am movementinfaith@gmail.com. That's 3 words, movementinfaith@gmail.com. I'm on everything. I'm on Twitter as @VHasan, MIF, standing for Movement in Faith. And I am also on all the things. Instagram. I think Instagram, I'm Vahisha Life Better.
Yes.
And that's because...
Yeah, you are.
Quick. Vahisha means life in Arabic, and Hasan means to make things better. And I love the Lord so much. And he also gave me this amazing mother who named me this and spoke my purpose well before I would even know what that's to be. And I spend every day both giving thanks and honor to God, but also trying to honor the legacy that my mom has even placed in my name and in my being. So I try to leave things better than when I left. I do try to make life better, and I do try to speak life even while tearing down death.
That's it. Yeah.
Well, I'm not ready to go yet. I mean, if I could just be real, because this is like so, and I talk to Bobby from time to time, but like y'all just share with me stuff that I didn't even know. This is like so enlightening. And like I said, y'all are breaking barriers. Y'all are changing the game, because we really do need to change the dynamic. You know, I don't know what opportunities are afforded to you guys or what invitations you get, but I know when I go to conferences, like it's always, oh man, we got to get you at the church and want you to come preach and this and that. Like, so do people reach out like, hey, I want you to come speak or preach or whatever, or do you feel like sometimes, you know, because you're a woman, you might not get those opportunities or invitations, or they might just want to save you for like Women's Day? You know, it's always cool to come on Women's Day.
It's interesting. And I usually say, no, that's not my, but I have some folk who will be amazing in that space, and that's their thing. But I actually get contracted pretty well.
Okay.
I think the difference happens if it's in my, again, I have several degrees and equipping. So typically the conversations that become problematic is if I need to, like, you get to pay me to get there at least. And that's where they just want me to like come for free. And I'm willing actually to come for free, let's be clear. But like I need to at least be able to get there, like things like that. So that's more of an issue. But I do get quite a bit of invitations, which I accept, which is why I'm always all over the place. Right. And I'm grateful. I'm grateful for those opportunities.
Well, for me, they're starting to come.
Okay.
Praise God. Getting the calls and getting the, we really need to do this. For me, also with the teaching, I've been afforded an opportunity that's coming down the road to be able to help teach ethics. Wow! And so looking forward to that opportunity, and also other opportunities, even when in my local area, things that can help with our children, things that help with our young ladies. What's happening is people say, I need help. And you know me, you've seen me. I just go, okay, let's see, what do we have to do? And that's kind of how it's been going. And
it's been varied. Like I was recently able to help a church plant to do like their missioning and visioning of what they wanted to look like, because they did want intentional social justice included in that and kind of like a community life. And so, I've been really embraced. And that's been a blessing. And Wild Goose Festival, I want to throw that out as one of the avenues is a way that's not as widely known Black community-wise, but it's a huge kind of unorthodox Christian festival, and it has a huge community that also is very embracing. So, yeah, lots of opportunities out there.
What are you ladies hoping that the future holds for women in ministry and for women in the work that you do?
My hope is that women will be given freedom to do exactly what they've been called to do, without barriers, without hindrances. It does not matter whether that I am a female. You don't say, well, she can't do that because she's a woman. Don't want any of that. Want to be able to go out, reach, teach, all of those who need to reach and teach. That's what I hope that women are going to be able to do. And therefore empowering those women that are sitting at home, those women that are in the jails, the women who lost their children, all of those women, letting them know that they can make mistakes. We all make them.
Right. Yes.
But that doesn't stop it. That doesn't stop you from being able to move forward and do what God's got for you to do.
My hope is that women will be valued as women. So I don't want folks to just see the gifts that I've been given, but I want them to see the gifts in the container that God intentionally put it in. Right. So